Vlachakis, and I actually work in advanced concepts in Southern California studio, which is in North Hollywood. But I worked on this project in Detroit through the production process. And I think, in talking about the exterior, one of the most dramatic parts of the car is this amazing proportion, and that's enabled by our platform. And what I mean by that is the wheels at the corners of the vehicle, really short overhangs, and what we in designer terms call dash to axle, which is where the door cut is placed in respect to the front wheel. And it really gives this sort of dramatic, a little bit classical roadster proportion. But it's interesting with this vehicle because we really wanted it in the line of where Saturn is going to be a very modern, edgy, and in a way dramatic architectural design. So we did that with these creases and this very dynamic directional design. And you can see these creases emphasize where the wheels are, and they come out and surround these wheels. And we have these planes that twist in and out of the vehicle. And as designers, we're inspired by many different things, and a lot of the times we look at architecture and the new stuff that's happening in the world, and a lot of the architecture language right now uses these types of forms. If you look at, for instance, frame theory designs, but we looked at that stuff and we tried to integrate it to create this very modern, edgy approach. Talking about the details on the exterior, we wanted to add that look of refinement and attention to detail to create these jewelry-like elements. And if you look at the front lamps, for instance, we're using projector beam technology and this combination of chrome and matte materials to create that interest and that technical look. And you can see there's a lot of attention to details. We have these air extractors and the face of Saturn, reinterpreted for the Roadster. This car really kind of brought the face to the public. It was one of the first vehicles with this face on it. So, what does that bar mean for a Roadster? How are we going to express that in this type of vehicle? And you'll see, there's a lot of detail in the face and in the little chrome elements on the lower vents. You can see also on the red line version that we changed that a little bit to add even more detail and more interest. So please have a look at that outside. On the rear, it's the same thing. We're using these chrome elements inside the lenses to create an interesting graphic. And it's also interesting when the car lights up at night because you end up with a very identifiable, unique graphic. We also have, if you notice on the red line, there's 2 exhaust tips, and on the base or normal version, there's just the one. But it's still very refined, very highly detailed. I think for me, one of the most important parts of the vehicle and one of the interesting aspects of the rear end is this fully enclosed top. And you really don't see that at this price point. And you end up getting this very flush, refined look, and in a way a little bit classical with these blisters behind the driver and passenger. And I think Darren will get into how the whole top actuates, because it's actually really unique to see the deck lid open and the front end open, because they actuate in such an interesting way and unconventional. It's part of the character of this vehicle. And I think I'm going to move into the interior. If you like open the door on the other side, I'll just talk about when we did the interior. We always talked about trying to keep a unified theme within the whole car. We didn't want the interior and the exterior to be divorced from each other. So I tried to maintain the same language, this very crisp, edgy architectural look with small chamfers and a very technical feel on the interior. And also this very high level of refinement, a lot of attention to detail. And again, I looked at different things going on in design, not only automotive design, but of course in fashion design and in architecture, because it really applies to my design sensibility. So, looking at unique materials, and we chose this piano black, for instance, which I think a lot of you were mentioning as something that was unique about this, which is a material that you see a lot in more high-end interiors and high-end furniture and jewelry a lot, this kind of onyx look. And we applied it to the interior to create that classical, luxurious quality. I think I also really focused on all of the driver interfaces and just detailing them as much as possible. And if you look at the gauges, I was actually influenced by watch face gauge from a Tag Heuer watch and looking at that very clean black surface with just the right amount of information. And then the kind of very contrasty, of course, tubes with the chrome and the black finish. So the binnacle is really tight and driver-oriented. The other area that we had a lot of development in is the seat. And it was a real balance between creating this sports car seat that holds you in the right places, but still making it very comfortable to drive over a long distance. And you'll have the chance to drive the car around windy roads and feel the way that it holds you. But also from a design perspective, to add all of these tailoring features with the stitching and the contrasting graphic. And you see that a lot in the color schemes that we chose. This very punchy, bold graphic element that you see throughout the door and the seat and the steering wheel. And it really gives you that sports car flavor. The other area that I really worked at detailing was the shifter area. And you can see this, this silver paint, almost exterior quality paint finish around the shifter to just highlight this is a really important interface and to add that detail quality. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the functional aspect. There's storage compartments throughout the vehicle, and of course you have your normal glove box storage. And then here we have this extra storage for CDs and small items. And then, little known, but there's storage back here for small items and behind the seat here, and also in front of the seat in the mount pocket. And there are 3 cup holders in this vehicle, just in case you wanted to bring your extra coffee. Here and over here on the passenger side. And that's always a design issue because in a sports car, it's really about the driving experience. I don't know, for me personally, I'm not the kind of person in this type of vehicle that would have a lot of drinks, but just in case we have them and placed away from where you're going to shift. And other than that, any other questions about the interior that I can answer?
Two-tone combinations, is that pretty much throughout the line?
Well, there's the black combination, which of course you'll see just the one color. And then there's the base seats that have the cloth, and it's a two-tone cloth look. So you'll have a spacer fabric here, and then a solid black here.
For the high-end picky, they have a little bit more contrast. For ours, we actually have a little bit more monotone in our cloth.
Right.
And then the 3 combinations in leather are the straight black.
Straight black, beige,
and tan, black.
yeah. You'll see the black and tan on that vehicle.
If you would, talk a bit about where we're seeing changes from the Solstice, I believe.
I'll cover it.
Will you cover it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's, all the sheet metal is new.
The
So.
center stack looks just like the, what's the view? Looks almost the same. The one we drove in yesterday? Doesn't it?
Well, we were more influenced by when we looked at the VX Lightning, it was more the influences as the team was doing the program.
I think if you look closely, you'll see a lot of difference. The View has just a little bar around it and then kind of a...
That's similar instruments, similar controls.
That's the corporate radio.
Yeah, that's the corporate radio, and this is the corporate steering wheel, although I broke it up with the two-tone.
Right.
But yeah, you'll see some of these components in our other vehicles.
That's what I was
Yeah.
referring to.
Yeah, summer program.
Okay.
Okay, ready to talk about more of the technical side?